The afternoon sun cast its warm glow over the sleek financial district of Santa Fe in Mexico City, as Eduardo Vega meticulously examined the blueprints for his most ambitious venture yet, a luxurious complex that would seamlessly blend apartments, offices, and an upscale shopping center. At 35 years old, Eduardo embodied the essence of business success, with a fortune that expanded annually and a name that unlocked opportunities across the nation. "I'm not convinced by these plans, Guillermo," Eduardo remarked, straightening his Italian silk tie as he gestured toward the documents strewn across the conference table. "I seek the extraordinary, something that defies the ordinary and leaves rivals in awe." Guillermo Rojas, the project director, ran his hand through his gray hair and sighed. "I see your point, Eduardo, but we have turned down 5 proposals already. The clock is running, and we must commence construction if we aim to adhere to the deadlines." "Then recruit additional architects," Eduardo replied, exuding the assurance of someone who refuses to accept defeat. "Surely, there exists an individual in this city who possesses both vision and imagination." 3 days later, Eduardo returned to the meeting room. He had spoken with 4 additional architects, yet his dissatisfaction lingered, until the door swung open and she stepped inside. Sophia Mendoza defied all of Eduardo's expectations. In her understated yet graceful dress, paired with modest heels and a presentation folder tucked under her arm, she appeared somewhat mismatched amidst the sea of opulent suits and lavish timepieces that filled Vega Desarrollos. "Good afternoon, Mr. Vega," he said, his voice steady and assured. "I apologize for the hold-up, the traffic on Reforma is quite unbearable right now." Eduardo took in her appearance, observing the blend of her indigenous traits with the sophisticated charm of the city. "Punctuality is crucial in my line of work, Miss Mendoza, Sophia Mendoza," she replied, maintaining eye contact with unwavering confidence. "And I assure you, the wait will be worth it." The assurance in her tone caught Eduardo off guard, as he was used to others yielding to his authority. Sophia, with an air of confidence, started to showcase her designs on the table, uninvited yet determined. "I have examined the landscape and the surroundings. Santa Fe is already filled with structures resembling glass boxes devoid of character," he elaborated while showcasing a design that blended contemporary features with touches drawn from traditional Mexican architecture. "My proposal captures the rich cultural essence of Mexico, seamlessly blending it with the comforts of modern luxury." As Sophia articulated her vision, Eduardo sensed his intrigue deepen. Not just for the project, but for the woman who brought it to life. His dark brown eyes held a magnetic passion and determination. "Where did you receive your training, Miss Mendoza?" he inquired, attempting to mask his intrigue. She replied, "I have a master's degree from the National Autonomous University of Mexico, obtained in Barcelona. Originally hailing from Oaxaca, I've had the opportunity to collaborate on projects throughout the country." "Oaxaca," Eduardo whispered, recalling the vibrant markets and charming cobblestone streets he had explored during a business trip. "This clarifies their emphasis on heritage." Sophia's smile blossomed for the first time, illuminating her entire face. "Tradition and innovation can coexist harmoniously, Mr. Vega. Indeed, I hold the conviction that genuine originality arises from honoring your origins while embracing what lies ahead." The discussion extended for an additional 2 hours. Upon completion, Eduardo realized he had discovered not just the architect for his project, but also a woman who had stirred within him a curiosity that transcended the professional realm. "Miss Mendoza, your proposal is quite intriguing," he finally remarked. "I would appreciate the opportunity for us to convene and delve into further details. Would you be free to join me for dinner this evening?" Sophia regarded him with an intriguing blend of astonishment and wariness. "I appreciate the invitation, Mr. Vega, but I would rather maintain a professional atmosphere during our meetings. If it suits you, we can carry on in your office tomorrow." Eduardo, unfamiliar with the sting of rejection, chose to embrace the moment with a smile instead of succumbing to frustration. The challenge that Sophia embodied only heightened his intrigue. "Very well, tomorrow at 9, he agreed, offering his hand. As their fingers brushed against each other, Eduardo was struck by a jolt of electricity, a sensation he hadn't felt in ages. As he observed Sophia exit the meeting room, he realized he would go to great lengths to capture her heart, unaware of the profound impact this meeting would have on his life from that moment on. Sophia's apartment in the Roma neighborhood stood in stark contrast to Eduardo's mansion in Las Lomas. As he stirred awake amidst luxurious Egyptian cotton sheets, she rose early in her humble yet inviting abode, adorned with handmade crafts from her native land and vibrant plants striving to soak up every glimmer of sunlight streaming through the window. "I can hardly wrap my mind around it, Sophia. Are you truly going to collaborate with Eduardo Vega? What do you think?" Mariana asked, her roommate and friend since college, as they sipped coffee in the cozy kitchen. This individual is known for his tendency to pursue romantic conquests and for his dismissive attitude towards his staff, viewing them as mere tools to be used and discarded. Sophia pondered as she stirred her coffee. "I understand, but this project has the potential to transform my professional journey." "I'm not one to back down easily," I replied. "Just be cautious," Mariana cautioned. "I've heard that once he has his sights on a woman, he won't stop until he has her." Sophia's friend's words lingered in her thoughts as she navigated the city on public transport, observing the transformation of the urban scenery, shifting from the lively streets of her neighborhood to the broad, sophisticated avenues that housed the offices of Vega Desarrollos. At 9 o'clock, she stepped into Eduardo's office, finding him already immersed in work, reviewing documents while engaged in a phone conversation. He motioned for her to sit down as he finished his call. "Good morning, Miss Mendoza," Eduardo said after hanging up. "You're on time today, I see." "I always am when I don't have to cross half the city during rush hour," she replied, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Eduardo studied her intently. In contrast to the women typically in his orbit, meticulously styled and clad in the latest fashions, Sophia opted for understated makeup that accentuated her natural beauty and a simple yet sophisticated tailored suit. "I've been reflecting on your proposal," Eduardo started. "I appreciate your vision, but I have some concerns regarding the feasibility of certain aspects." In the weeks that followed, Eduardo and Sophia collaborated closely on the project. Every meeting turned into a battle of wills, pitting her creative spirit against his practical approach. Yet, amid their contrasting perspectives, Eduardo found himself increasingly captivated by Sophia. She was not only gifted and striking but also fiercely advocated for her beliefs with a fervor and insight that was seldom seen among her peers. "You ought to attend the charity gala this weekend," Eduardo suggested one afternoon, following a notably fruitful meeting. "Numerous potential investors will be there. It would be beneficial for you to connect with some influential individuals." Sophia paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. I understood that saying yes would blur the boundaries I had worked so hard to keep. "I don't think I have anything suitable for those kinds of events," she eventually replied. "That's no problem," Eduardo said with a confident smile. "I can take care of that." "I don't need your charity, Mr. Vega," Sophia replied, her tone icy and distant. "If I go, it will be on my own terms." Eduardo was taken aback by her reply. The women he was accustomed to never turned down his offerings. "I had no intention of upsetting her." He expressed his regrets. "My goal was simply to simplify matters." Sophia's demeanor softened. "I understand, but I have to uphold my independence. It's something that matters to me." The following day, an envelope found its way to the temporary desk where Sophia was stationed in the Vega Desarrollos offices. Within it lay a formal invitation to the gala, devoid of any extra notes. Sophia smiled, grateful that Eduardo had honored her stance. On the night of the gala, Eduardo found himself anxiously awaiting Sophia's entrance. When she finally arrived, he was utterly captivated. She donned a turquoise dress that called to mind the cenotes of the Yucatan Peninsula, adorned with embroidered details that reflected the artistry of Oaxacan craftsmanship. It was an exquisite blend of modern sophistication and rich Mexican heritage, just as envisioned in its architectural design. "You look stunning, Miss Mendoza," Eduardo remarked as he approached her. "Thank you, Mr. Vega," Sophia replied. You look very elegant too. Throughout the evening, Eduardo noted how effortlessly Sophia navigated the realm of the Mexican elite. Although she hailed from a different background, his sharp intellect and charm enabled him to engage in discussions that spanned contemporary art to economic policy with remarkable ease. "Are you a dancer?" Eduardo asked, extending his hand when the orchestra began to play a waltz. "Only if you promise not to step on my feet," she replied with a playful smile that was new to Eduardo. On the dance floor, as they swayed to the music, Eduardo sensed the walls between them starting to crumble. For the first time, he witnessed Sophia unwind in his company and permitted himself to reveal a facet of his being that few had encountered. "What draws you to architecture?" he inquired, truly eager to understand it more deeply. Sophia met his gaze before responding. "My grandfather worked as a bricklayer in Oaxaca. He would take me along to construction sites during my childhood. I was captivated by the way a simple pile of bricks and cement could be turned into homes where families would weave their stories." He paused. "When he passed, I vowed that one day I would create structures that celebrated his legacy and our customs." The depth of her reply touched Eduardo. In that instant, as the melodies enveloped them and their movements flowed in harmonious unity, he realized that his feelings for Sophia transcended mere attraction. For the first time in ages, Eduardo Vega, the affluent man used to having it all, felt the unsettling fear that he might not measure up to a woman. From that evening at the charity gala, a shift occurred in the dynamic between Eduardo and Sophia. Work meetings started to drift beyond the confines of professionalism, spilling into cafes and restaurants where discussions of plans and budgets transformed into exchanges about personal lives, aspirations, and experiences. "My father wanted me to study medicine," Eduardo revealed one afternoon as they savored a dessert in a quaint restaurant in La Condesa. "When I told him I wanted to pursue real estate, he didn't speak to me for months." Sophia gazed at him in astonishment. "I always believed you hailed from a lineage of entrepreneurs." Eduardo offered a smile tinged with nostalgia. "My father was a doctor, as was my grandfather. I was the first to defy that legacy. I acquired my first piece of land through a loan secured by pawning the watch they gifted me at my graduation. My father was furious." "And what comes next?" Sophia inquired. "He feels a sense of pride now, even if he won't openly acknowledge it," Eduardo responded. "But enough about me. Share more about Oaxaca, about your family." Sophia then recounted her childhood in the vibrant neighborhoods of Oaxaca, about Sundays spent in the Zocalo, listening to the marimba, about her mother who sold hand-embroidered textiles, and how the whole community united to fund her studies when she earned the scholarship to university in the capital. "That's why I can't let them down," he explained. "Every plan I draw, every building I design, is a way of giving back what was given to me." Eduardo observed her with keen interest. In a realm dominated by ruthless competition and shallow connections, Sophia's integrity and principles stood out like a refreshing oasis. As time went on, what started as mere professional respect evolved into something more profound. Eduardo started crafting reasons to spend time with Sophia beyond the confines of their workday, opting for afternoon excursions to properties that could easily be visited during office hours, and arranging supplier meetings that conveniently concluded near intriguing spots he was eager to share with her. "You should join me at Teotihuacan this weekend," he suggested one Thursday. "There's some land nearby that I'm thinking of buying, and I would appreciate your expert insight." Sophia recognized it as a subtle pretext, yet she chose to agree. The pull she experienced towards Eduardo grew harder to dismiss, even as she clung to her doubts. On Saturday, while exploring the majestic pyramids beneath the sun of the Central Plateau, Eduardo found himself captivated by Sophia. Adorned in her straw hat and a flowing dress that danced with the wind, she appeared to blend seamlessly into the Mexican scenery, as stunning and genuine as the historic structures that encircled them. "Are you familiar with the meaning of Teotihuacan?" Sophia inquired, gazing at the breathtaking panorama from the summit of the Pyramid of the Sun. "This is where men ascend to become gods, isn't it?" Eduardo replied, his memory of the tour guide's explanation hazy. Sophia beamed. Some interpret it in this way. Others suggest it signifies city of the gods, or place where the gods were born. I prefer to view it as a realm of transformation where one can discover their true self. Eduardo gazed at her with intensity and, driven by a sudden urge, grasped her hand. I believe I'm already changing, Sophia. Ever since I met you, I feel different. Sophia kept her hand steady, though her expression turned grave. Eduardo, I'm not sure this is wise. We are colleagues. We hail from entirely distinct realms. And why should that be of any significance? He interrupted. When I'm with you, I feel like all those worlds fade away. It's just you and me. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the ancient pyramids, Eduardo leaned in and kissed Sophia. To his astonishment, she met his kiss with a fervor that confirmed, despite his doubts, that her feelings mirrored his own. That day in Teotihuacan signified the official start of their relationship. In the months that followed, Eduardo devoted himself to winning over Sophia with a commitment that astonished even his nearest companions. However, he approached this pursuit without the opulence or flamboyance he had previously displayed with other women. He realized that to win over Sophia, he had to reveal his authentic self, transcending his wealth and status. He introduced her to hidden gems of Mexico that she, despite her roots, had never explored. They enjoyed meals at humble street stalls as well as in the city's finest dining establishments. Eduardo discovered the beauty of simplicity, while Sophia started to embrace a realm of possibilities she once thought beyond her reach. The project that united them was progressing smoothly. The groundbreaking complex, merging traditional Mexican elements with cutting-edge sustainable architecture, was starting to materialize, and the specialized media was already recognizing it as one of the most promising developments in Latin America. On a crisp October afternoon, 6 months after their initial encounter, Eduardo extended an invitation to Sophia to explore the construction site. I have something special to show you, he said, leading her through the intricate framework of beams and columns. They reached the heart of the complex, a spacious area that, as per the blueprints, was destined to transform into an interior garden reminiscent of Oaxacan colonial patios. Here, Eduardo said, gesturing to the precise center of the room. This is where I want to pose a question to you. Sophia gazed at him, puzzled. Which question? Eduardo grasped her hands and inhaled deeply. Sophia Mendoza, these past months with you have been the most joyful of my existence. I never imagined I would encounter someone who would challenge me, inspire me, and motivate me to strive for improvement each day. Sophia's heart raced with disbelief. Eduardo, Let me finish, please, he said, a nervous smile playing on his lips. Before our paths crossed, I thought success was all about figures, assets, and agreements. You have shown me that real success lies in discovering a partner to share everything with, someone who recognizes your true self, beyond material possessions. Eduardo retrieved a small velvet box from his jacket pocket and knelt on the dusty floor of the building. Sophia Mendoza, in this space we envision together, crafted from our thoughts and aspirations, I ask you, would you grant me the honor of becoming my wife? As the box opened, a stunning sapphire ring encircled by delicate diamonds glimmered in the soft evening light streaming through the rafters. Sophia felt as though her breath had been taken away. Everything unfolded in a whirlwind. Just 6 months prior, she was an obscure architect, battling to carve out her identity in a male-dominated field, and now she stood before the most sought-after businessman in Mexico, who had just proposed to her amidst what was destined to be their collaborative masterpiece. Eduardo, this is. The words caught in her throat. Too soon? He inquired, his voice tinged with a rare vulnerability. Sophia met his gaze and discovered within it a depth she had never encountered in any man, an earnest love intertwined with the apprehension of rejection. In that instant, all his uncertainties vanished. It's never too early when you're certain you've discovered the one, he finally replied, tears glistening in his eyes. Yes, Eduardo Vega, I will marry you. Eduardo leaped up, slipped the ring onto her finger, and kissed her with a blend of fervor and gentleness that solidified their promise. The news of their engagement circulated rapidly through both social and business networks in Mexico. To many, it seemed like the quintessential tale of a wealthy man marrying a woman from modest beginnings, yet those familiar with their story understood it was far deeper. It represented the coming together of two individuals who, despite their contrasting backgrounds, had discovered in one another precisely what they sought. The wedding preparations kicked off without delay. Eduardo envisioned a grand celebration, one that would grace the pages of society magazines. Meanwhile, Sophia was determined to incorporate traditional elements that paid tribute to her Oaxacan heritage. "I desire my guests to truly engage, Eduardo," she expressed during their conversation about the invitees. "It shouldn't be limited to just the businessmen and politicians you're familiar with." "Certainly, my dear," he agreed. "This wedding belongs to both of us equally. I desire it to be flawless for each of us." As the momentous day drew near, Sophia confronted her own anxieties and doubts. It was not just the prospect of becoming the wife of one of the most powerful men in Mexico that troubled her, but also the most personal facet of their union. One evening, as they dined in Sophia's apartment, she gathered her courage to address a topic she had long evaded. "Eduardo, there is something I need to share with you," she started, her voice quivering slightly. "There's something significant about me that you need to know before we tie the knot." Eduardo gazed at her with a hint of worry. "You can share anything with me, Sophia. You know it." She inhaled deeply. "I would never," the words hung in the air, caught in a web of hesitation. "I've never encountered anyone quite like that." Eduardo gazed at her, bewildered, attempting to grasp what he had just been told. "Are you saying that you..." "Indeed," she affirmed. "I consistently dedicated myself to my education, my professional path, and my involvement in the community. Customs hold significant value. I found myself in a moment of anticipation, hoping for the perfect connection to unfold." To Sophia's astonishment, Eduardo grasped her hand and pressed his lips to it with boundless gentleness. "I am truly honored," he finally expressed. "I assure you that when the moment arrives, it will be as extraordinary as you truly deserve." Sophia experienced a sense of relief wash over her. In that instant, she realized she had chosen wisely in her decision to accept his proposal. The wedding took place in the Grand Metropolitan Cathedral, tended by over 500 guests, encompassing both the esteemed business and political figures of Mexico and the modest residents of the Sophia neighborhood in Oaxaca. The gown worn by the bride, crafted by a renowned Mexican designer, featured exquisite traditional embroidery created by artisans from Oaxaca, representing the harmonious blend of two worlds that, until now, appeared to be at odds. Under the soft glow of the moonlight, as they twirled in their inaugural waltz as a married couple, Eduardo leaned in and whispered sweetly into Sophia's ear. "I assure you that each day we share will be just as magnificent as this one. I will strive with all my might to honor the precious gift you have bestowed upon me. Your affection and your confidence." What neither of them could foresee was how that promise would be challenged during their honeymoon, as the revelation of Sophia's innocence would uncover aspects of both their characters that even they had yet to discover. The Riviera Maya unfolded a breathtaking scene of azure waters and pristine sands before their eyes. Eduardo had secured one of the most sought-after villas at the resort, nestled on a secluded peninsula that promised complete seclusion. With breathtaking vistas of the Caribbean Sea from nearly every room, an infinity pool, and round-the-clock service staff, it created an idyllic backdrop for a honeymoon. Sophia observed the sunset from her suite's balcony, enveloped in a silk sarong, as Eduardo concluded a business call he had assured would be the final one during his visit. "There, I've disconnected the phone," Eduardo declared, stepping closer and wrapping his arms around her from behind. "For the upcoming fortnight, I am entirely at your service." Sophia glanced at him, her eyes reflecting a blend of affection and apprehension. "Will you not feel remorse? The project is at a pivotal moment." Eduardo pressed a finger to his lips. "Guillermo is capable of handling it. At this moment, what holds the utmost significance for me is you, us, and the here and now." He pressed his lips gently against hers, then trailed soft kisses along her neck. Sophia reacted to his gentle touches, yet Eduardo sensed an underlying tension in her form. "Are you all right?" he inquired, leaning back just enough to meet her gaze. "Yeah, it's just. I'm feeling a bit anxious," she admitted. "I desire for everything to be flawless." Eduardo smiled with warmth. "It shall be. There's no rush on our end. We have our whole lives ahead of us." That evening, following a candlelit dinner on the terrace of their villa, they made their way back to the main room. Eduardo requested to adorn it with rose petals and fragrant candles. A bottle of champagne rested elegantly in a silver ice bucket beside the bed. Sophia paused at the entrance, captivated by the stunning vista and the anticipation of what was to unfold. "It's stunning," he murmured. Eduardo stepped closer, gently grasping her hands in his own. "You are beautiful," he said, his gaze fixed on her with intensity. "I want you to understand that if you're not prepared, we can take our time." "There's no pressure," Sophia said, shaking her head. "No, I wish to be by your side. My heart belongs to you, Eduardo." "And I you," he responded, pressing his lips to hers with a blend of fervor and control. What ensued was a shared exploration. Eduardo, mindful of Sophia's naivety, approached the moment with tenderness and care, softly leading her through their initial intimate experience. Each touch, each kiss, carried profound significance. It was more than mere desire that coursed through Eduardo, it was a profound emotion, a realization that he was the first to uncover that facet of the woman he adored. As they united at last, Sophia felt an intricate blend of agony and ecstasy that swiftly transformed into a sense of satisfaction she had never envisioned. In Eduardo's embrace, she uncovered a profound realm of affection, a silent dialogue that conveyed the depth of their feelings for one another. Later, as they lay entwined beneath the luxurious Egyptian cotton sheets, Eduardo gently caressed Sophia's hair, in awe of the intimate moment they had just experienced together. "How can that even be?" he whispered, mostly to himself rather than to her. "What?" Sophia inquired, leaning her head against his chest. "The fact that someone as stunning and insightful as you had never been with anyone before." Sophia paused, lost in thought. "In my family and in my community, that holds great significance," he finally articulated. "My mother always said that moments should be extraordinary, shared with someone I truly cherished. I suppose I never encountered that individual, until you came along." Eduardo gazed at her, his admiration rekindled. In her realm, where connections frequently hinged on motives and facades, Sophia's innocence and authenticity shone like a rare gem. "I am honored," he declared in a resonant tone, "and I assure you that you will never regret selecting me." The days that followed unfolded in a cocoon of joy. They ventured to the hidden shores of the Riviera, dove into vibrant coral reefs, wandered through the ancient Mayan ruins of Tulum, and engaged in deep conversations beneath the starlit sky. Yet, most importantly, they found one another, not just in a physical sense, but also on a more profound and intimate plane. Eduardo, who had always navigated the shallow waters of relationships with women well-versed in the social dance, now discovered himself utterly captivated by a woman who shattered all his prior expectations. In that moment of surrender, he found a sense of freedom and happiness that was entirely new to him, far from the feeling of being trapped. The blissful escape was drawing to a close. In 2 days, they would head back to Mexico City to take up their duties once more, he as the director of Vega Desarrollos, she as the lead architect of the project that had united them. Yet, there was a shift within Eduardo, an alteration that eluded even his own comprehension. Sitting on the beach, observing the sun as it started its descent into the horizon, Eduardo disrupted the serene quietude they enjoyed together. "Are you aware? Contemplating what lies ahead has occupied my mind." Sophia gazed at him with intrigue. "In what way?" "Within us, in our shared existence," he replied, tracing circles in the sand with a single finger. "I always perceived marriage as a sort of societal agreement, an obligation I would ultimately fulfill due to the expectations placed upon someone in my situation." "What comes next?" Sophia inquired, picking up on the direction of the discussion. Now I realize it encompasses so much more. It's about sharing daily moments with the one you cherish, creating something meaningful together, and offering mutual support. He took a moment to stop. I envision a future where we build a family together, Sophia. The declaration hung in the air, palpable and full of potential. Sophia sensed her heart quicken. I desire that as well, Eduardo, but I'm uncertain if I'm prepared just yet. My priority is to complete the project first and solidify my position in my career. Eduardo grasped her hand gently. Certainly, there's no need to hurry. There is ample time ahead of us. I wanted to express that it is something I truly long for. Sophia bent down and pressed her lips gently against his. You are destined to be an amazing father. That evening, as they dined in one of the resort's charming restaurants, Eduardo received a call that, despite his earlier commitments, he chose to take. It was Guillermo, the director of the project. Pardon me for a moment, he said to Sophia, stepping away from the table. The discussion extended beyond what was anticipated. Upon his return, his demeanor had shifted. Is there an issue? Sophia inquired, her concern evident. Eduardo paused, contemplating his response. A challenge has arisen with the project. It's not a big deal, but they require my input to proceed. What type of issue are we discussing? She asserted, recognizing that it was equally her endeavor as it was his. It's complicated, Eduardo replied, looking away. I'll clarify it for you once we get back to Mexico. Throughout the remainder of dinner, an uncomfortable quiet enveloped the space between them. Sophia sensed that something was amiss. Eduardo, who had always been open with her in their professional dealings, now appeared to be concealing information from her. At the villa, as Eduardo took his shower, Sophia found herself unable to resist the allure. She took hold of her husband's phone and examined the recent calls. The most recent message did not come from Guillermo. Rather, it was from Valeria Torres, a prominent city councilor rumored to have had a past relationship with Eduardo. As Eduardo stepped out of the bathroom, he discovered Sophia perched on the terrace, her expression a puzzle he couldn't quite unravel. How are things progressing? He inquired, taking a seat beside her. I have no idea, why don't you enlighten me, she replied with a frosty tone. What was the reason for Valeria Torres reaching out to you? Eduardo gazed at her in astonishment. Have you looked at my phone? Eduardo responds to my inquiry. He let out a heavy sigh. Your approval is essential for us to proceed with the project. A sonification issue has arisen that we did not foresee. What was the reason behind your deception? Sophia maintained. What made you think it was Guillermo? Eduardo paused, his mind sifting through thoughts in search of the perfect expression. I chose not to bring work issues into our honeymoon, as I wanted to keep it special, and I was aware that you might feel uneasy knowing Valeria is involved, considering the tales you've likely heard about us. Is that really the case? Did you share a connection with her? Sophia inquired straightforwardly. Years ago, before our paths crossed, Eduardo confessed, it concluded in a rather unfortunate manner. That's why I have concerns about his involvement in the project at this stage. Sophia rose to her feet, clearly distressed. What other secrets are you keeping from me, Eduardo? To create a life together, it's essential for me to feel that I can rely on you completely. Eduardo rose to his feet and grasped her hands. Sophia, direct your gaze towards me, he commanded with a resolute tone. My affection for you surpasses everything else in existence. Indeed, prior to our encounter, I had been involved with other women. Some held more weight than others, and a few turned out more favorably. However, what exists between us is entirely distinct. You are my partner, the person with whom I wish to build a life together. Sophia gazed into his eyes, seeking the honesty behind his words. Even in his fury, he recognized the genuine nature of Eduardo's intentions. Your past doesn't matter to me, Eduardo, he finally stated. I'm deeply invested in both our current situation and what lies ahead. I need assurance that I can rely on you, that you will be open with me, particularly regarding anything that impacts our project. I assure you, he said, wrapping his arms around her. All secrets are laid bare between us now. That night, as they embraced with a fervor that felt different, Eduardo sensed a profound shift in the essence of their connection. Their shared vulnerability and the truths exchanged had deepened their connection in an unexpected manner. As Sophia lay peacefully beside him, Eduardo found himself gazing at the ceiling, contemplating how a woman who had never shared her life with another man had imparted more lessons on love and honesty than all his past encounters put together. He vowed to himself that he would earn Sophia's trust, that he would cultivate a relationship with her grounded in respect and honesty, and most importantly, that he would never let anything or anyone, not even the specter of his past errors, stand in their way. With this resolution in mind, Eduardo drifted off to sleep, unaware that the true test of his marriage was only just starting. Eduardo's private jet touched down at Mexico City International Airport during the afternoon hours. As the plane glided down the runway, Sophia gazed out the window at the sprawling urban landscape that unfolded before them, a stark contrast to the idyllic beaches they had just departed. The cocoon of joy they had inhabited for the last fortnight was on the verge of unraveling. Prepared to return to reality? Eduardo inquired, gently grasping her hand. Sophia regarded him with a wistful smile. One can never truly be prepared for that, can they? A vehicle stood poised for them on the track. As the driver loaded his luggage, Eduardo glanced at his phone, occasionally furrowing his brow at the messages and emails he encountered. Concerns? Sophia inquired. Nothing that can't wait until tomorrow, he said, tucking the phone away. This evening is exclusively ours. Tomorrow, we shall confront the world ahead. The urban congestion welcomed them with its familiar disorder, a stark reminder of the mundane truths of daily life. As they meandered down Paseo de la Reforma, Sophia pondered the remarkable transformation her life had undergone in such a brief period. Only a few months back, she was a skilled yet unrecognized architect, striving to carve out her identity in a predominantly male industry. She had become the wife of Eduardo Vega, a prominent businessman in the country, and a key figure behind a project that could shape her professional future. The vehicle came to a halt before Eduardo's grand mansion in Las Lomas, a residence that now belonged to him, yet it still lacked the warmth of home. They had come to a consensus to reside there until the project was completed, after which they would contemplate whether to relocate to a place symbolizing a fresh start for both of them. "Welcome back, Mrs. Vega," Eduardo said, assisting her as she stepped out of the car. Sophia shivered at the sound of that name. He was still struggling to embrace his new identity. The staff welcomed them with practiced subtlety, transporting their bags to the main room, as the housekeeper announced that dinner would be served in an hour. Everything functioned with the accuracy of a finely tuned machine, a stark contrast to the warm chaos that defined the small apartment Sophia had shared with Mariana. "I need to call my parents," Sophia remarked as soon as they found themselves alone. "I assured them I would inform them upon our return." Eduardo gave a slight nod. "Absolutely. In the meantime, I'll indulge in a refreshing shower." Sophia made her way to the study, seeking a space for a private conversation. The exchange with his parents was heartfelt yet succinct. He reassured them that he was doing well, that the honeymoon had been delightful, and that he would be visiting them in Oaxaca shortly. He omitted any reference to the conversation regarding Valeria Torres or her instances of doubt. "There were certain matters that felt too personal to divulge, even to those I held dearest." Once the call ended, he resolved to review his work email. There were numerous messages awaiting my reply, the majority concerning the project. However, one in particular piqued his interest. Valeria Torres reached out, seeking an immediate meeting to address vital elements of the project. Sophia experienced a sudden wave of discomfort. What was the reason for the counselor to reach out to her instead of Eduardo? Why was there no specific mention of what those crucial elements were? Lost in her reverie, she remained oblivious to Eduardo's entrance into the study. "Are your parents doing all right?" he inquired, now attired in linen trousers and a relaxed shirt. Sophia swiftly shut the email. Indeed, they are well, he responded, maybe a bit too hastily. I was merely reviewing a few work messages. Eduardo stepped closer and softly kneaded her shoulders. Don't let work consume you on our first night back, he murmured, pressing his lips against her neck. We will have the opportunity for that tomorrow. Sophia nodded, choosing to keep Valeria's email to herself. He preferred to avoid any conflict on his first night back. Tomorrow, with a more focused perspective, I will discuss it with Eduardo. The evening unfolded in a laid-back ambience, as Eduardo shared tales from past adventures and his aspirations for what lies ahead. Sophia smiled as she listened to him, yet a part of her thoughts lingered on that email, contemplating its implications for both the project and her marriage. The following morning, the weight of reality descended upon them with undeniable intensity. Eduardo's calendar was packed with meetings, while Sophia needed to reconnect with the team of architects who had been managing the project during his time away. I'll see you for lunch, Eduardo told him as they exchanged farewells in the lobby of Vega de Arroyos. Sophia nodded, sensing the weight of the conversation ahead, her mind racing with thoughts of Valeria Torres and the email that had landed in her inbox. The morning flew by, filled with plans, reports, and technical discussions. The project was unfolding smoothly, requiring just a handful of minor tweaks. The team welcomed her with heartfelt respect and admiration, fully aware that her talent and vision were crucial to the project's success. At noon, as she made her way to Eduardo's office for lunch, Sophia encountered Valeria Torres in the hallway. The counselor, a woman in her 40s, exuded elegance and had a commanding presence, offering him a smile that failed to illuminate her eyes. Mrs. Vega, what a delightful surprise, Valeria remarked, reaching out her hand, I was just on my way to find you. Sophia grasped his hand with confidence, resolute in masking any hint of uncertainty. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person, Counselor Torres. Your email has been received. Excellent, Valeria replied, then you are aware that we have pressing issues to address. Just then, Eduardo emerged from his office and froze at the sight of them together. Valeria thought you wouldn't arrive until 3, he remarked, his voice tinged with a subtle tension. I chose to move our meeting up, she responded effortlessly. It's a stroke of luck that I've had the pleasure of meeting your wife. Perhaps the three of us could gather for lunch and delve into the information regarding the project. Eduardo gazed at Sophia, eager to catch her response. Her face remained impassive, yet beneath the surface, a blend of intrigue and doubt churned within her. Certainly, Eduardo finally replied. I had a table for 2 set aside at the mansion, but they can certainly make arrangements for us. The trio made their way to the restaurant, enveloped in an uncomfortable quietude. Once settled and after placing her order, Valeria got straight to the point. The endeavor encounters a considerable challenge. He began to gaze at Eduardo. Irregularities have been discovered by the Planning Commission in the construction permits. What sort of inconsistencies are we talking about? Sophia inquired, her brow furrowed. All documents were submitted in compliance with the existing regulations. Valeria smiled with a hint of superiority. The rules were updated 3 weeks ago during your honeymoon. A supplementary cultural impact assessment is now necessary for any construction in that region, owing to its closeness to historically significant sites. That's ridiculous, Eduardo interjected. The property is situated away from any recognized historic landmarks. The cataloging has also expanded, Valeria replied, clearly relishing her authority. Fortunately, I can expedite the process, provided the project includes specific adjustments deemed crucial by the Commission. Sophia and Eduardo shared a glance. They were both aware of the implications behind that. Valeria was leveraging her influence to impose alterations on the project, likely for her own advantage or that of her political associates. What type of changes are you referring to? Sophia inquired, keeping her poise intact. Valeria retrieved a folder from her briefcase and placed it on the table with a deliberate motion. No major changes. A simple adjustment in the choice of suppliers for specific materials, along with the addition of space designated for a cultural center overseen by the foundation I lead. Eduardo opened the folder and scrutinized the documents, his expression growing more severe as he absorbed the information. These suppliers are charging significantly more than the market rate, he noted, and the area you are asking for the cultural center would take up nearly 15% of the designated commercial space. That's just the cost of operating in this city, Eduardo, Valeria replied with a frosty smile. I assumed you were already aware of that. Sophia observed the interaction, fully conscious of the underlying meanings. It transcended mere business dealings. An unresolved personal history lingered between Eduardo and Valeria, casting a shadow over the project and putting their marriage at risk. We need time to consider these suggestions, Sophia finally stated, taking charge of the situation. You can expect our response within 48 hours, Counselor Torres. Valeria regarded her with fresh intrigue, as though it was in that moment she recognized her as a formidable opponent. Certainly, Mrs. Vega, he responded. However, I must emphasize that time is crucial. The Commission convenes in 3 days to deliberate on the future of several projects, including yours. Once the tense lunch concluded, and the conversation shifted to more neutral subjects, Valeria bid them farewell, assuring them she would await their response. That woman is a snake, Sophia remarked, once they found themselves alone in the car on the drive back to the office. Eduardo let out a heavy sigh. I understand, and I must admit this is quite intimate. He's leveraging the project as a means to settle the score with me. Is it revenge? Why? Eduardo paused, weighing his words carefully, contemplating the extent of his disclosure. He finally explained that our relationship did not conclude positively. She sought a deep commitment, while I was not on the same page. Upon meeting her future husband, a prominent figure in politics, she vowed that eventually, I would face the consequences for having taken advantage of her, as she claims. Sophia absorbed this information, her heart heavy with empathy for Eduardo and a looming worry for the project's future. What shall we do next? He finally inquired. Eduardo grasped her hand, his gaze steady and resolute. We will stand firm against coercion. I assure you, we'll discover an alternative solution to this issue. Unbeknownst to them, Valeria Torres was on the brink of initiating her intricate strategy, and the weeks ahead would challenge not only her ambitious endeavors but also the resilience of her budding marriage. The ensuing days unfolded in a whirlwind of meetings, legal consultations, and a quest for alternatives to confront the challenge that Valeria Torres had set before her. Eduardo reached out to his connections within the municipal government, while Sophia collaborated with the legal team to identify potential loopholes in the new regulations that they could exploit. We have two options, Guillermo articulated during a crisis meeting, either concede to Torres' demands and accept the modifications, which would lead to millions in cost overruns and jeopardize the integrity of the original design, or pursue a legal route to contest the retroactive enforcement of the new regulations. The legal process could extend for months, protested Carlos Mendez, the lead attorney for Vega Desarrollos, during which the construction would be halted, resulting in daily financial losses. Eduardo, positioned at the head of the table, absorbed the conversation with a serious demeanor. Sophia, standing beside her, keenly noted the reactions of those around them, fully aware that many perceived this conflict as a direct result of her union with Eduardo. A third option exists, Sophia finally declared, drawing everyone's attention. Revamp certain elements of the project to align with the latest regulations, while staying true to our initial vision and resisting Torres' particular requests. Eduardo gazed at her, his curiosity piqued anew. Could that be a possibility? Sophia gave a slight nod. In a technical sense, yes. The guidelines mandate a thorough examination of cultural effects and the safeguarding of specific historical features. By integrating architectural features that pay homage to the neighborhood's history, we can contend that we are honoring the essence of the law without requiring the particular adjustments suggested by Torres. A glimmer of hope ignited in Eduardo's eyes. What is the estimated time required for you to prepare that redesign? 3 days, Sophia replied with assurance. I have a few concepts in mind. Eduardo gazed at his team and then at Sophia, feeling a blend of pride and admiration. "Proceed," he commanded. In the meantime, Carlos meticulously crafts the legal arguments to support this approach. "Guillermo, ensure the teams are prepared to jump back into construction the moment we receive the go-ahead." The gathering concluded with a revitalized sense of direction. As the others departed, Eduardo lingered with Sophia in the living room. "You are exceptional. Have you heard?" he murmured, pressing his lips gently against hers. Sophia's smile faded, replaced by a look of gravity. "Eduardo, I have a question for you." "Whatever. Is there anything more I should be aware of regarding you and Valeria? An element that might influence our approach to this matter." With a heavy sigh, Eduardo settled into his seat, gesturing for Sophia to join him. "Our relationship ended 5 years ago. It spanned roughly half a year," he started. "During that period, my attention was solely directed towards business. I was upfront from the start that I wasn't interested in anything serious." "Yet, she does," Sophia concluded. Indeed, as time passed, he started to discuss the future and the idea of solidifying the relationship. As I restated my conditions, she showed comprehension. However, I soon realized that she was leveraging her role to support certain projects of mine. "Little did you know," Eduardo nodded. "Upon discovering the truth, I promptly ended the relationship. I preferred my businesses to progress without any external pressure. It was quite disagreeable. She claimed that I had taken advantage of her, that I was unable to truly love anyone. Unkind remarks were exchanged by both parties." Sophia pieced together this information, linking various elements of the puzzle. "Now that you are bound to me in marriage, having demonstrated your ability to commit and love, she perceives the ideal moment to exact her revenge." "I believe that's the case," Eduardo affirmed. "It's not merely the project he aims to undermine, it's our marriage at stake." Sophia grasped his hands. "He won't make it," he declared with conviction. "We will navigate this journey side by side, Eduardo." The days that followed were filled with intense effort from the team. Sophia hardly found rest, pouring every ounce of her energy into refining the redesign that held the potential to rescue the project. Eduardo, in his efforts, leveraged his political and media connections to generate public support for his cause. On the eve of her presentation to the Planning Commission, Sophia found herself in the study of the mansion, meticulously going over the final details of her plans, when the sound of the doorbell interrupted her focus. The unexpected arrival of someone at the house during that hour, without any prior warning, was quite out of the ordinary. Shortly thereafter, Martina, the housekeeper, made her entrance at the study door. "Madam, a young woman is adamant about meeting with you. She claims it's urgent, and her name is Claudia Rojas." Sophia furrowed her brow, attempting to recall if she was acquainted with anyone bearing that name. "Please have her go into the small room. I'll arrive shortly." As Sophia stepped into the living room, her gaze fell upon a young woman, likely in her mid-20s, who was dressed with elegance yet betrayed a palpable nervousness. "Madam Vega?" the woman inquired, rising to her feet. "I appreciate the opportunity to be here. What assistance can I offer you, Miss Rojas?" Sophia inquired, maintaining a deliberate distance. The young woman inhaled deeply before she began to speak. "I serve as an aide to Councilwoman Torres," he started. "What I'm about to share might jeopardize my position, but I believe it's important for you to be aware." Sophia experienced a shiver coursing through her body. "I pay attention to her. From the very start, Councilwoman Torres has been steering the process to her advantage," Claudia articulated. "The recent regulations were crafted with your project in mind. And there's more," he paused, as though weighing his next words carefully. "I would love to hear all that you have to share," Sophia urged her on. Claudia continued, "The councilwoman has devised a strategy to undermine her husband. He has engaged an individual to confront him at the fundraising party tomorrow, aiming to place him in a delicate predicament. All is set for your exploration." Sophia sensed the breath escape her body. The cold precision and ruthless nature of the scheme rendered her momentarily at a loss for words. "What prompts you to share this with me?" he finally inquired. Claudia cast her gaze downward. "My sister experienced a situation like that. Their union was shattered by a snare such as this. I would find it unbearable to think of allowing that to occur to another person." Sophia examined the young woman's face, searching for any hints of deceit, yet all she perceived was genuine sincerity mixed with a touch of nervousness. "I appreciate your candor, Miss Rojas," he finally remarked. "There's more I need to understand." "Indeed," Claudia replied. "Councilwoman Torres has been delving into her history in Oaxaca. It appears he is searching for something he might leverage against you as well." This final revelation sent a shiver down Sophia's spine. He felt no shame about his life in Oaxaca, yet the thought of Valeria delving into his history, possibly reaching out to acquaintances, unsettled him profoundly. "I see," he replied, keeping his calm demeanor. "What is the best way to reach you for additional details?" Claudia presented him with a card that bore a handwritten phone number. "This is my private contact number. Exercise caution while utilizing it." Once Claudia departed, Sophia lingered in the living room, attempting to digest all that she had just learned. His initial instinct was to reach out to Eduardo, who was occupied with a business dinner, yet he held back. He required a moment for contemplation, to devise a strategy. This represented the pinnacle challenge for their union. Valeria Torres not only jeopardized their professional endeavor, but also sought to undermine the trust and affection they had cultivated. Sophia understood that their approach to this situation would shape the trajectory of their relationship. With a fresh sense of purpose, he made his way back to the studio. He was determined to complete the redesign of the project, yet he also had to brace himself for the personal struggle that awaited him. Valeria Torres had misjudged the woman standing before her. Sophia Mendoza de Vega transcended the role of merely being the wife of a millionaire. She embodied principles, intelligence, and resilience, shaped by the rich traditions of Oaxaca and strengthened by the trials of navigating a male-dominated world. As she examined the plans for the project she had envisioned with Eduardo, Sophia reached a conclusion. He would not permit anyone, not even the formidable Valeria Torres, to dismantle what they had created together. Upon Eduardo's return from his business dinner, well past midnight, he discovered Sophia patiently waiting for him in the main room. The grave look on his wife's face instantly conveyed that something significant had occurred. "What occurs?" he inquired, easing his tie as he settled into the chair opposite her. Sophia recounted in detail Claudia Rojas's visit and all the insights she had shared. He observed Eduardo's responses intently as he spoke, searching for any hints of anxiety or remorse, yet found only outrage and sincere worry. Eduardo remarked on the remarkable lengths she is prepared to reach after Sophia concluded her tale. "Employing our union as a tool, transcending all limits. The inquiry at hand is, what actions shall we take in response?" Sophia replied, maintaining her composure. "Tomorrow marks the day of the presentation before the commission, as well as the fundraising party." Eduardo rose to his feet and started to pace the room, his thoughts racing at an exhilarating pace. "We must respond," he finally stated, but with strategy, not sheer strength. In the ensuing hours, the couple meticulously crafted a strategy together. The approach unfolded on two levels: the professional aspect, featuring the presentation of the redesign crafted by Sophia, and the personal dimension, aimed at dismantling the snare that Valeria had devised. Eduardo pondered, if Claudia's words hold any truth, Valeria is likely counting on me to walk right into the snare, leading you to uncover my presence. Their aim is to bring you public shame and ruin what we have together. Then let's take a completely different approach, Sophia suggested with resolve. Let's demonstrate to her that our union is more resilient than she perceives. The following morning, Eduardo and Sophia made their way to the offices of the Urban Planning Commission together. She donned a sophisticated tailored suit in a coral hue that beautifully complemented her dark skin, while Eduardo sported one of his flawlessly crafted dark suits. They presented a striking pair, drawing admiring looks as they traversed the hall. Valeria Torres had taken her place in the meeting room, engaged in conversation with fellow commission members. His self-satisfied grin narrowed just a bit as he observed their entrance, glowing and assured. "Good morning, Councillor Torres," Sophia said, her smile radiating calmness. "We are prepared to unveil our proposal." The session commenced right on time. Sophia spoke with her signature confidence as she unveiled the project's redesign. It included features that alluded to the neighborhood's history, designs that echoed traditional architecture, communal areas that honored cultural heritage, and a modest museum focused on local history. "As you can observe," Sophia articulated, gesturing towards the plans and digital models, "our design not only adheres to the new regulations but also embraces them, transforming what might be perceived as a limitation into a chance to enhance the project." The commission members listened with clear intrigue. Even individuals who appeared initially resistant displayed a newfound respect for the sophistication of the suggested resolution. Valeria Torres, however, held a steadfast expression. "Impressive presentation, Mrs. Vega," he remarked as Sophia concluded, "but I must express my concern that certain aspects remain insufficiently addressed. The cultural foundation I referred to still lacks a designated space in its plans." "It's simply not needed, Councilman," Eduardo interjected with a steady yet friendly tone. "The guidelines emphasize the importance of safeguarding and honoring cultural heritage, rather than designating areas for particular organizations. My wife has shown that our redesign effectively fulfills the necessary legal standards." A heavy stillness hung in the air. All those gathered could sense the struggle for dominance taking place right in front of them. At last, Francisco Aguilar, the commission's president, an older gentleman known for his unwavering integrity, began to speak. "I have to admit, the redesign showcased by Ms. Vega is truly remarkable," he stated. "It adheres not just to the letter of the new regulations, but also to their essence. I suggest we move forward with the voting process." The outcome was 7 votes supporting and 2 opposing. One of them is Valeria Torres. The project has been approved to move forward. As they gathered their belongings to depart, Valeria made her way over to Eduardo and Sophia. "Congratulations," he remarked, his smile as cold as ice. "They may have claimed victory in this skirmish, yet the larger conflict continues." "There is no conflict, Valeria," Eduardo responded with a steady demeanor. "Simply an initiative aimed at enhancing the city. I encourage you to view it from this perspective." "I'll see you tonight at the fundraiser," he remarked dismissively, brushing aside her comments. "It shall be an evening." "Fascinating." Once they were alone, Eduardo embraced Sophia. "You nailed it. You're a genius." "We got it," she corrected. "And it's not over yet. We have to prepare for tonight." Back at the mansion, as they readied themselves for the gala, Sophia and Eduardo meticulously reviewed their strategy. Claudia had informed them that Valeria had enlisted a woman to charm Eduardo, orchestrating a scenario that Sophia would inadvertently stumble upon. "Are you confident you'll be able to identify her?" Sophia inquired as she meticulously applied her makeup in front of the mirror. Claudia said it would be a blonde woman, wearing a red dress and a pearl necklace, Eduardo replied, fiddling with his bow tie. "It shouldn't be too hard." "But what if Claudia is playing us? What if this is all part of a trap?" Eduardo moved closer to Sophia, his gaze meeting hers in the reflection of the mirror as he gently placed his hands on her shoulders. "Then, we will improvise. Together." Sophia shifted her gaze to meet his directly. "I need you to promise me something, Eduardo. Indifferent. No matter what unfolds this evening. We shall remain united. We refuse to allow Valeria the pleasure of creating division between us." "I assure you," he responded with gravity. "Nothing and no one will come between us." The fundraising gala took place at the exquisite San Regis Hotel, nestled in the city's vibrant core. The elite of Mexican society was in attendance. Leaders, entrepreneurs, creators, and icons. Eduardo and Sophia made a grand entrance, arriving fashionably late to ensure all eyes were on them. Sophia radiated in an emerald designer dress that highlighted her figure and created a stunning contrast with her skin. Eduardo, standing beside her, radiated an air of assurance and strength in his tailored tuxedo. They embodied the ideal of achievement and blissful partnership. Valeria Torres observed them from across the room, a glass of champagne held delicately in her hand, her expression a mystery that invited curiosity. Beside her stood her husband, a seasoned politician with aspirations of the presidency. "There it is," Eduardo murmured, leaning towards Sophia as if sharing a secret meant only for her ears. "The woman in the red dress stands at the bar, her gaze fixed on us." Sophia nodded, a subtle acknowledgement. "Let's kick off the performance." For the next hour, they carried out their strategy flawlessly. Eduardo momentarily parted ways with Sophia, making his way to the bar to grab a drink. As expected, the woman in the red dress made her way to him right away, initiating what appeared to be a casual conversation. Sophia observed the unfolding scene from her spot across the room, engaging in conversation with a few prominent guests. He observed Valeria Torres as she began to maneuver with intention, aligning herself to gain an unobstructed view of Eduardo and the woman in the red dress. Adhering to the narrative they had crafted, Eduardo permitted the woman to grow more flirtatious, even allowing her to occasionally brush her fingers against his arm. To the untrained eye, it would appear as though he was stepping right into a snare. Just as the woman in the red dress leaned in to share a secret, Sophia made her way toward them. However, contrary to the scene of jealousy Valeria anticipated, Sophia welcomed the woman with a warm smile. "Could I borrow my husband for just a moment?" he inquired with grace. "Someone is here to extend their greetings to us both." The woman in the red dress briefly displayed her bewilderment before restoring her poise. "Absolutely," he replied, hastily making his exit. Sophia grasped Eduardo's arm, and together they made their way straight to Valeria Torres, who was now displaying clear signs of bewilderment. "Councilman Torres." Sophia welcomed everyone with a beaming smile. "Isn't this evening simply lovely? We were just talking with Eduardo about how fortunate we are to have a relationship grounded in honesty and trust. Isn't it something truly priceless?" For the first time in their acquaintance with Valeria Torres, she appeared utterly at a loss for words. "Absolutely," he finally replied, his voice tinged with barely concealed frustration. "I hope that your trust endures." "Indeed, it shall be," Eduardo said, wrapping his arms around Sophia's waist. "Indeed, we have some updates to convey. Sophia and I are contemplating the establishment of our own charity, dedicated to offering educational opportunities to aspiring architects from underprivileged communities. Your support would be greatly appreciated, Councilman." It was a brilliant move. They were not only undermining her strategy to divide them, but they were also diminishing her capacity to confront them later, placing her in a situation where dismissing their benevolent proposal would carry significant political repercussions. Valeria managed to put on a smile. "Certainly, it appears commendable. Your details will be discussed by my assistant, who will reach out to you soon." "Outstanding," Sophia replied. "Please extend our best wishes to Claudia. She is an exceptionally committed young woman." The mention of her assistant caused Valeria to lose a bit of color in her face. In that instant, she understood that they had always been a step ahead of her. The remainder of the evening unfolded quietly, without any notable events. Eduardo and Sophia glided through the room, a harmonious duo, welcoming guests, sharing fleeting dances, and consistently radiating the essence of a couple utterly enamored with each other. Upon their return home, late in the morning, they surrendered to the allure of the living room sofa, collapsing into its embrace, weary yet content. "Did you notice his expression when you brought up Claudia?" Edward River, adjusting his bow tie with a casual elegance. "It was invaluable." Sophia's smile faded, giving way to a more somber expression. "We emerged victorious in this conflict, yet I have my reservations about his willingness to concede so readily." "I understand," Eduardo admitted, but we've proven that united, we are more formidable than any of their schemes, and that's what truly matters. Sophia nestled beside him, contemplating the journey they had shared, from their initial professional encounter to becoming partners in life, confronting obstacles that would have shattered those with weaker connections. "Are you aware of the irony?" he finally declared. "Valeria attempted to tear us apart, yet paradoxically, she has brought us closer together." Eduardo pressed his lips against hers gently. "At times, challenges reveal the depths of our resilience." That night, as they embraced each other with a fervor ignited by the day's experiences, they both sensed that their connection had deepened in a manner neither had foreseen when they first crossed paths just a year prior. Half a year following the clash with Valeria Torres, the project was progressing smoothly. The initial stage of construction was nearing completion, and the media focused on architecture and urban development had already begun to label it as a model for successfully blending traditional and contemporary elements. On a crisp spring morning, Sophia stepped into the mansion's garden, cradling a cup of tea in her hands. With Eduardo having departed early for a crucial meeting, she relished these quiet moments to ponder the transformations in her life. Valeria Torres had vanished from the political landscape following a corruption scandal that had no connection to them. Fate, as his mother often remarked, had played its hand. Yet, the lesson he imparted to them was priceless. The significance of maintaining solidarity when confronted with challenges. Sophia beamed at the memory of Eduardo's astonished face when, 3 months prior, she had shared the news that would alter their lives for good. "I'm expecting," she revealed to him one evening as they dined on the terrace. Eduardo let his fork slip from his fingers, his gaze fixed on her, a blend of wonder and delight illuminating his expression. "Are you certain?" he inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a murmur. "Absolutely. In the fall, we will embrace parenthood." Eduardo's response had reaffirmed what Sophia had sensed all along, that the once notorious millionaire had evolved into a man capable of profound love and unwavering commitment. As she gently stroked her slightly rounded belly, thoughts of the future filled Sophia's mind. They resolved that after the baby arrived, they would relocate to a new house, crafted from her own vision. A dwelling that represented neither Eduardo's history nor his, but rather the dawn of their shared journey. They had also initiated the educational foundation they had discussed with Valeria Torres that evening at the gala. It wasn't merely a tactic to undermine her. They genuinely held a conviction about the significance of creating pathways for emerging talent from underrepresented backgrounds. The rumble of a car drawing near broke his contemplation. Eduardo arrived much sooner than anticipated. Sophia approached the entrance to greet him. "How was the meeting?" she inquired as he stepped out of the car. Eduardo's expression was a puzzle. He admitted there had never been such a meeting, it was merely a ruse to orchestrate a surprise. A surprise? Sophia regarded him with curiosity. Eduardo smiled enigmatically. "Get in the car. I wish to share an experience with you." Following a nearly hour-long journey, during which Eduardo kept the destination a secret, they reached a plot of land on the city's edge. It was a vast expanse, offering views of the mountains, where the essence of nature intertwined with the urban skyline. "What do you think?" Eduardo asked as they strolled through the field. Sophia gazed around, captivated by the beauty surrounding them. "It's stunning, but what exactly is it?" she inquired. "It's ours," Eduardo replied. "This morning, I made the purchase. Here, we will construct our home, which you will design on your own. And look," he gestured to a precise spot on the land, "right there is a natural spring. I envisioned integrating it into your design as a representation of life and renewal." Sophia felt tears welling up in her eyes. It wasn't merely the pregnancy hormones at play. The exhilaration of witnessing how the man she adored grasped her aspirations and wishes with such clarity was overwhelming. "It's perfect," she murmured, embracing him tightly. "Truly perfect." That evening, as they dined on the terrace of the mansion they were about to depart from, Eduardo presented Sophia with an envelope. "One final surprise," he remarked with a grin. Within it lay plane tickets to Oaxaca. I thought we could spend a few days with your parents, Eduardo said. I want to understand your background more deeply, the place that shaped you. And I believe they should be the first to hear the news that they will be grandparents. Sophia gazed at him with boundless affection. This was the true Eduardo Vega. Not the heartless tycoon that others portrayed, but a man who could love wholeheartedly, cherishing the things that truly held significance in life. I love you, he said with a quiet sincerity. And I to you, he responded, feeling a depth of emotion he never imagined he could experience. The week in Oaxaca felt like a soothing embrace for the spirit. Sophia reconnected with her roots through Eduardo's genuine curiosity about the traditions, cuisine, and culture that had influenced her life. Initially cautious, Sophia's parents gradually warmed to their wealthy son-in-law, captivated by his heartfelt affection for their daughter. The announcement of the pregnancy brought forth tears of joy and celebrations that enveloped the entire community. My father has been teaching me how to knit, Eduardo shared one afternoon, as they relaxed in the patio of the family home. He hopes to teach me how to create a zarape for the baby. Sophia chuckled at the sight of Eduardo, the formidable businessman, attempting to master traditional Oaxacan weaving techniques. And how's it going? Awful, he confessed with a grin. But I keep at it. By the time our son arrives, I will have crafted something worthy of sharing. Those days in Oaxaca forged a quiet agreement between them. Her child would navigate both realms, experiencing the comforts of affluence while also embracing the traditions and values that Sophia had received from her lineage. In Mexico City, life quickly returned to its bustling rhythm. The project was moving forward as intended. Sophia started to envision her future home, while the preparations for the baby's arrival consumed much of her leisure time. One afternoon, as Sophia immersed herself in her work at home, Eduardo walked in, his expression grave. I just received an intriguing call, he stated, taking a seat across from her. It was Carlos Ibarra, the husband of Valeria Torres. Sophia set her pencil aside, her senses heightened. What was his intention? Propose an alliance, Eduardo replied. It appears that Valeria has irreversibly lost her standing, and he is separating himself from her to protect his political future. He seeks our backing for his mayoral run. And what was your response? Sophia inquired, observing his demeanor. That we would consider it, Eduardo replied. However, I genuinely question whether we should delve into that realm of politics. I would rather see our efforts directed towards initiatives that genuinely serve the community, rather than engaging in power struggles. Sophia beamed, pleased to witness her husband's growth. I agree, he said. I believe our educational foundation will create a more positive and enduring impact than any political alliance. Eduardo stood up and moved closer to her, gently placing a hand on her belly. I aspire to create a brighter future for this little one, he murmured gently. A future where achievement is defined by the meaningful impact you have, rather than the influence you wield. Sophia placed her hand over his. We will do it together. The project that united them was finally inaugurated one October afternoon, just weeks ahead of the anticipated delivery date. It was an impressive complex that seamlessly blended traditional Mexican architectural elements with cutting-edge sustainable technologies. The press celebrated it as a groundbreaking shift in urban development, and it had already garnered multiple international accolades. At the inauguration ceremony, Eduardo astonished everyone by revealing that the complex would bear his wife Sophia's name, reflecting the profound meaning of her name, wisdom. This project embodies the wisdom and talent of an exceptional woman, he proclaimed to the audience, a woman who not only reshaped this urban landscape but also transformed my life entirely. Sophia, glowing in her advanced stage of pregnancy, couldn't contain her tears upon hearing his words. The journey they had shared was fraught with challenges, yet every hurdle had only deepened their bond. 2 weeks later, Mateo Vega Mendoza entered the world, a beautiful baby embodying the best of both parents. In the quiet of the hospital room, Eduardo and Sophia shared a glance brimming with affection and unspoken vows. You know, Eduardo said softly, his hand tenderly caressing his son's head, when I first met you, I believed I had it all, success, wealth, influence, but I was utterly mistaken. I lacked what truly counts. And now? Sophia asked, her smile a blend of fatigue and joy. Eduardo gazed at his wife and son, the two most precious treasures in his life. Now I have everything. Satrin Comasius. A year later, Eduardo and Sophia settled into their new home, which she had personally designed. It was an exquisite blend of modernity and tradition, featuring expansive open spaces, local materials, and elements that reflected both contemporary architecture and Sophia's Oaxacan heritage. Following Eduardo's suggestion, the natural spring was seamlessly woven into the design, resulting in a quaint pond at the heart of an interior patio that echoed the charm of traditional Oaxaca. It was in this lovely setting that they gathered one spring afternoon to celebrate Mateo's first birthday. Among the attendees were Sophia's parents, who had relocated to a nearby home crafted just for them, along with Mariana and her boyfriend, Guillermo, and a circle of close friends. As she observed Eduardo engaging with their son, Sophia contemplated the remarkable transformation her life had undergone in the last 2 years, evolving from an obscure architect to a millionaire's wife, mother, and now a respected professional in her own right. "What are you thinking about?" Eduardo inquired, coming closer with Mateo cradled in his arms. "About us," Sophia answered. "How did it all begin and where do we stand now?" Eduardo smiled, fully grasping her meaning. "Among all the endeavors I have pursued in my life," he remarked, surveying the scene, from the home that embodied their bond, to their son who signified their tomorrow, to the loved ones gathered around them, this is, without question, the most triumphant. Sophia cradled Mateo in her arms and linked her free hand with Eduardo's. "And we're just getting started," he replied, a smile brimming with potential. They strolled toward the heart of the patio, where the spring's water flowed gently and endlessly, mirroring the love they had discovered in one another, a love that, much like the fountain, had surfaced unexpectedly yet had become the focal point of their existence, nurturing all it encountered, growing more profound and resilient with each passing day.